Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6:03.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody, on December 15th to the meeting of the Community Crisis Response Program Advisory Board. As a courtesy to others, we ask that you please silence all your cell phones. And next, I have a few announcements regarding public comments. We have one public comment on item, actually, one second. Not there yet. Okay, so the first item on the agenda is roll call. Board Member Barton? Here. Board Member Burrows? Here. Board Member Dixon?
Here.
Board Member Hatfield?
Here.
Board Member Decker?
Here.
Board Member Johnson?
Here.
Board Member Lo Cicero? Here. Board Member Melendez?
Here.
Board Member Rendon? Board Member Rendon absent. Board Member Strain?
Present.
Board Members Sullivan?
Present.
Deputy Director Sam Vaughn? And Program Manager Michael Romero? And my apologies, I am Management Analyst Caitlin Burnham. I'm with the Department of Children and Youth. I'll be filling in while Joan is absent today. All right, so for the record, there are one board member absent, Board Member Rendon. The next item on the agenda is agenda review and modifications.
Bear with me because we haven't had this portion before.
No worries, you're good.
But this is where we're going to review the minutes.
Yes, we will. Well, it will be E1 to approve the minutes from the October 27th and the November 14th minutes. But are there any changes to the entire, like the whole agenda?
Are there any changes or modifications to tonight's agenda? Seeing none, hearing none, I think we're okay to go unless that needs to be an official vote.
Yep. All right, no changes to the agenda. All right, we will move on to. Oh, we're there. Okay, we will be moving on to item C, report from staff. I will pass it on to the program manager for any program updates.
Good evening, everyone. Updates is we've got our team on board. We've got 6 community intervention specialists that have started their training as of December 1st. Really excited about each and every one of them. We have a very robust, busy schedule of training. We started out our first day with onboarding. Everybody's now working on getting their cell phones, their laptops, getting their logins from the city. They've been through all of the mandated trainings by the city so far. And every day it's a new adventure. I've got some slides. I don't know if we'll get to it today, but showing some of the different trainings that we've been doing on a daily basis. But we've got an incredible team. We've got 6 individuals who are very passionate about doing this work and learning everything that there is. And so far, it's been absolutely phenomenal. We look forward to it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Michael. We will move on to item D. And we do have a hybrid meeting today, so we will, KCRC staff are monitoring the Zoom as well, or in charge of the Zoom as well. So for those joining virtually, please click the raise your hand feature now to be allowed to speak. But first, we are going to hear public comment from Cordell Hindler. You have 2 minutes to provide your public comment.
Oh, just it. So, good evening, Chair Dixon, board members. I am Cordell Handler, and I have some wonderful news to share with you all. So, the last two vacancies. So, I will be talking with the Youth Council next month.
I'm sorry, Cordell, one moment. Sam, can you start the timer for the public comment?
Can I start that again?
Yeah, you'll restart when we
Okay.
start the timer.
Okay. Okay, so let's try that again. So, good evening again, Chair Dixon, board members. For the record, I am Cordell Handler, and I have some wonderful news to share with you all. So, the last two vacancies on this commission or board I will be talking with the Youth Council next month to try to encourage them to fill the last two seats because young.
Cordell, one sec. We haven't started the timer. Give us 1 second so we
Okay.
can make sure you get your allotted time.
Okay. Okay, take three. So let's start again. So good evening again, Chair Dixon, board members. For the third time, I am Cordell Handler, and I have some wonderful news to share with you all. So the last two seats on this board, I will be talking to the Youth Council next month, and I will try to encourage them to fill these last two slots because not only the youth they have been impacted by violence, so we need to hear it from them. So I will be talking with them next month on the fourth Thursday, which I know you're going to be talking about after the minutes. So I'll save my comments for that. So and then what else? Oh yes, coming up on early February, you are all invited to the Contra Costa Mayor's Conference. It'll be hosted by the City of Richmond, of course. So location will be determined. So I will get more information by the middle of January, but you do have to RSVP ahead so they can track how many people will be in attendance. And it's only $70 per person. So there will be refreshments there too. And then what else? Yes. So if you recall at the October meeting when you had the city attorney's office providing an overview on the Brown Act training, I thought it was very helpful because I know from experience because when I was on a commission, that was one of the requirements I had to take. So Brown Act training. So as long as you abide by the rules and procedures, you ain't got nothing to worry about. So I'll save my comments for when we get to that first item up.
Thank you, Cordell. We have no more in-person speakers. We will now move on to virtual speakers. If there are any on Zoom, please come off mute. All right. All right, so it looks like we have no more public comments at this time. We can move on to item E, consent calendar. Approve the minutes of the October 27, 2025 and November 14, 2025 meetings of the Community Crisis Response Program Advisory Board.
Did anybody have any changes or edits to the October 27th or November 14th? Anything that needed to be adjusted or corrected?
I saw on October 27th's minutes, Board Member Rendon is listed as both absent and present in the roll call.
All right, so we will note that for the record. Therefore, the minutes do not need to be approved today. If there is an error, those will need to be updated and then approved at the next meeting.
I believe that was the October 27th minutes, so we'll hold those back. For the November 14th minutes, how about those? Any edits or adjustments? Is there a same error on that? Okay.
Can we make the correction of was that board member absent or present?
I believe that board member was absent.
Thank you.
For that meeting.
All right, would anybody like to propose a motion to approve the minutes for November 14th?
I motion to approve the minutes for November 14th.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Seeing none, hearing none, motion passes. I
Good
think that
evening,
leaves us-
everyone. Hi, sorry. So just really quickly, you all do have to do roll call because this is a hybrid meeting. And because the community needs to hear each person's name. So Caitlin, you're gonna have to do roll call.
Okay.
For each action item. So we need to go and just do roll call for what you all just approved. So I just wanted to point that out. And then as Sam was mentioning, if you wanted to, you could approve the October 27th minutes with the correction of noting that board member as absent. And then you could approve it, and then we'll make the change before we post. Thank you.
So, do we want to make another motion again? I will motion to approve the November 14th minutes as well as the October minutes with the change that Board Member Rendon's attendance is accurately reflected on the October minutes.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I will be doing another roll call. Board Member Barton?
Here, so I'm saying I'll approve the minutes, is that where we're at right now?
Just saying
You
that
need
you're
it-
here, you're present. We're just doing another,
Okay, here.
thank you. Board Member Burrows? Board Member Dixon?
My only request would be Chair HD or Board HD. Dixon is, but I am here.
Thank you for the correction. Chair Dixon. Board Member Hatfield?
Here.
Board Member Decker? Here. Board Member Johnson?
Here.
Board Member Los Cicero? Here. Board Member Melendez?
Here.
Board Member Strain?
Here.
Board Member Sullivan? Here. Deputy Director Sam Vaughn? Oh,
Here.
we can stop there. Never mind. Thank you. All right. So the motion to approve the October 27th and November 14th minutes have been approved unanimously by the board members present today. All right.
All right, so we're okay to move on to item F?
Yes.
So it looks like our next item, F1, receive results from scheduling poll and decide on a monthly date for 2026. And I think before we do that, we move into public comment. If I remember right.
All right, we have one public speaker, Cordell Hindler. For item F1, you will have 2 minutes. Once. All right.
Okay, I didn't get I didn't get the full two. So okay, so good evening, Chair Dixon, board members. For the record, I am Cordell Hendler, and I have looked at the results, and there's some I have other obligations that I have looked at. So the fourth Thursday, it doesn't. I have two other advisory meetings. At the same time as you all. So that's not feasible for me. So that's just I just want to reflect that. So the fourth Mondays, same concept because there's other groups, the other commissions that meet in this room. So that means I have to bounce back from one meeting to the next, and I'm like, I'm already late for one committee meeting now. So I'm like, okay, how am I gonna make this work? So, but I do agree with the first Monday though, or third Monday, which is that would be my ideal choices because it's more better for me because the fourth Mondays and fourth Thursdays that's not feasible because I have two other groups that I have meetings in the back and in the front, and I'm like, those days don't work for me because I'll go with the first and third Mondays of the month because those are my only days I have available. So I'm like, any Friday, I'm like, let's just put a question mark on that. So I'll just leave it at that, and I'll present the rest of the items to the staff.
Thank you.
Thank you. That is the only public comment we have. We will move over to Zoom. If there is anybody on Zoom that has public comment for item F1, please come off mute. Okay, so no public comment on Zoom. The results can be seen on the slides above or within the agenda packet in the staff report for item F1. There was no common day amongst all members' schedules on the third and fourth Mondays. There were only 7 board members that marked availability. The same goes for any of the Fridays. The next 2 that had the next majority were the first Mondays and fourth Thursdays, with 5 members each marking availability that day. The common time chosen is 6 p.m., and I will pass it off to Chair HD to begin discussion.
Thank you very much. So it looks like, yeah, we had some close ties here. And then I really appreciate the community feedback. I'll open it up to everybody else. Does anybody have some preferences or want to get us started? Or have a strong feeling of no?
I will say my schedule strongly aligns with Cordell's. So that's an automatic 2 if you want to count both Cordell and I.
Same here as well, actually. The first Mondays and third Mondays, either one is pretty good for me.
Unfortunately, I often teach on Monday evening, so Mondays, no Mondays. I couldn't commit to any Mondays to be here often, but the Thursday and the Friday does work.
Does anyone have like a hard no on Thursday or Friday, or was it just like a lesser preference?
Thursdays would not work for me, but Fridays would. I'll sacrifice a Friday.
Yeah, I can't do Thursdays, unfortunately. Fridays are good.
I think for the record, I heard Cordell also second Fridays, if I'm not mistaken. Just want to make sure we have our community input here too.
It was a question mark. Oh. But open, seems like.
So I have a question. I think there were not, am I right that there were 9 of us voting on these dates? And we know that looks like less than everybody, now 5 or 7 said Fridays. Do we know if anyone, the other 2 people have a hard no on Friday? Do we know if there's an absolute no on Fridays of the other 2?
I think that's what we're going to lean into. I can say that I didn't choose a Friday because, I had hopes and dreams for a life. But that's okay. This is important. So does anybody have a hard no against Fridays? Staff, is there a preferred Friday since it looks like they're all open and y'all are important too?
Thank you for asking. We will figure it out. I don't know if Sam or Michael have a preferred Friday from a staff's perspective that you prefer. If not, we will.
I'm definitely sitting with the chair on this one. Was hoping I had a life as well, but whatever the whatever the amount for the
Would you
greater
all
good,
settle
we'll
for
make it happen.
a life 3 Fridays a month?
So the committee someone could recommend a specific Friday since all of them appear to be available as part of a motion.
I would recommend either 2nd or 4th, if anyone. Fridays.
Well, is it a possibility that we can throw Tuesday back in the mix? Tuesday? Tuesday back in? Oh, that's an absolute for you. It's no Tuesday. I respect that.
Tuesdays for staff, 3 of the
Tuesday was like a no.
Tuesdays, because there's city council meetings,
That's
are
what it
very
was.
difficult
Okay.
for staff
Yeah,
to attend.
okay. Never mind. Now I remember.
We have 3 city council meetings a month on the first, third, and fourth Tuesdays.
Sounds like second is the standout. What do you guys?
Yeah.
Want to roll a dice or make a motion?
Yeah. Cordell, does the second Fridays of the month work for you? Great. For the record, Cordell said that's perfect.
Okay, motion to meet on the second Fridays of the month as our regular meeting time at 6 p.m.
Okay. I second that motion.
We'll do roll call.
Okay, we will do roll call again for the folks on Zoom.
Before, Caitlin, who started the motion?
ahead.
I did. Board Member Decker. Sonia, I don't know. However you want to call me.
Okay, so Board Member Deckard made the motion, and we had a second from,
Oh, she doesn't have her name.
what's her name?
Burrows.
Thank you.
And Board Member Burrows. Okay, I'm going to do roll call again. Board Member Barton?
Here.
Board Member Hatfield?
Here.
Board Member Chair HD? Board Member Johnson?
Here.
Board Member Los Cicero? Here. Board Member Melendez?
Yes.
Board Member Strain?
Here.
Board Member Strain?
Here.
Oh, thank you. Board Member Sullivan?
Here.
All right.
So the motion passes with all board members present voting yes for Friday, the second Friday of the month at 6 p.m. And just for the record, that is January 9th, February 13th, March 13th, April 10th, May 8th, and June 12th. And if any of those dates end up being holidays or something, we always can call a special meeting if needed. Thank you.
I have a tiny admin question for the chair. Is it possible to get a calendar, to all of these on a calendar invite so that we have them as someone who's incredibly forgetful?
Yes, staff would send out a calendar invite for the recurring meeting.
Does anybody have any questions or thoughts or last minute things they want to bring up before we move on to the next item?
I do.
I'm sorry, usually after you take a vote, the topic is closed. Sorry.
And you could call the next item Chair HD whenever you're ready.
The next item is item F2, discuss the CCRP frequently asked questions continued from the previous board meeting.
Let me move. I'm going to move back to the presentation from last meeting. So you all had a discussion last month around the FAQs. I'm not sure where you all left off, but if you want to let me know where you left off and I can go to that slide.
Yeah, I believe we left off on we were discussing what types of calls will ROC team be deployed to. I don't know if KCRT has the slides that we can look at, but I know we all have them in front of us.
They're in front of us. Can you all see it on the monitor?
Ah, cool. Okay, and I don't know exactly which item that we stopped on, but we'll just start from the tops. CCRP will be working collaboratively with dispatch and first responders to review and analyze call types and determine which type of calls are best suited for ROC's response to, I gotta need my glasses here. It's a little bit ROC to respond to. To ensure the safety of everyone involved, calls will be regularly evaluated. The current proposed call types could include the following: low-level behavioral health crisis, wellness checks, disturbance, safe transports, passive suicidal ideation, mediation, request for information or resources, and then firefighter or officer support for follow-ups. I think that was the last page we were on. Does anybody have any specific questions about any of those calls?
Yes, I do. Can I go ahead? The first one, the low-level behavioral, you were mentioning, or at some point mentioning, collaboration with the county, the AAA. How do you decide who responds to the?
Yeah,
Does dispatch know that, or how do you?
Well, it's interesting you say that because A3 is the county's mobile crisis response team. We've got a phenomenal working relationship with them. I know that myself, LaShonda, Joan, and Sam visited A3. We got a tour of their offices and did a ride along with them in Martinez. A3 is a county entity that does have the ability to write psychiatric holds for both children and adults. They're a team that we'll be working closely with. With us being here in Richmond, there may be a call where we don't know when we get to the scene. The call could escalate to where it may need an individual may need to be put on a psychiatric hold. The goal of our team is to work with folks that we're serving. Could take 5 minutes to 5 hours. There's no timeline on the amount of time that we could spend with somebody, which is a really neat service to the community member. It could, like we know, 5 minutes, 5 hours. But we'll figure, we may be in a situation where we can, it looks like a call might need a liar, could potentially turn into a psychiatric hold, and they would be the team that we'd call for that. So.
If I might add, dispatch is already dispatching to A3, so there's a set of triage calls that they decide whether they should send RPD or A3. We will just fall in line with that. At times, they'll say this is an A3 call. At times, they'll say it's a ROC call. At any given time, as Mike said, A3 might get there and say this isn't the heightened of call that we should have responded to, and they might ask for an assist and a handoff to the ROC team. And like Mike said, vice versa. And because they're countywide, sometimes the length of time it takes for them to respond, that can escalate without any interdiction. And so we might go just to try to keep calm, de-escalate a little bit until A3 is able to make it there.
Thank you.
I had a question. Can you talk about the difference between passive and active suicidal ideation and how that's discerned in an intake call?
That's a great question. So passive suicidal ideation might be somebody that maybe in a discussion they had with a teacher, a family member, or a friend, they might be very unspecific about hurting themselves. Passive might be, yeah, I'd like to hurt myself, and I've even thought about killing myself, but it's nothing like tonight or tomorrow, but I just really do I just want to end my life. So where that's kind of passive, but if you talk to an individual and they say, I absolutely want to kill myself, and this is how I'm going to do it, that's more deliberate and more concerning. Yet another call that we could be called out to, and those are the type of calls we look to be a part of. The other thing is we'll be working closely, as one of our trainings that we have coming up is going to be with a 988 hotline for suicides. And they were pretty excited about us coming on board because oftentimes they might get a call or they can do texting with folks that might be having those type of ideations. And they're based out of Walnut Creek, or they're online, so they can say, you know what, there's a call in Richmond, one of our community members. Do you guys could your team respond to that? And they would ask for permission from the individual on the phone, and hopefully they'd say, yeah, they can stop by. And again, they would reinforce that everything that we do is voluntary, whatever department we're working with. The individual that we're serving can choose to receive services from us, or allow us to engage and be a part of their journey. So great question.
Maybe this was gonna be covered in the call flow type that we're gonna, I think is the next agenda item, but is there, I'm wondering if we have the data from A3 around like their response times, because I know they're countywide. And also if it's a clear protocol about who goes, like if it's consistent that Rock goes first and then waits there with them till A3 can get there. You know, if it's like always Rock immediately and then A3 follow up if needed, or if it sometimes just goes straight to A3, and if we have the data on like how long it usually takes them to respond, if they have capacity for that, et cetera.
That is a great question. And what I can say is that A3 keeps very good data, and they have live data. I don't know if it's live. They have great data on their websites. I know LaShonda and I meet quarterly with the A3 and county teams to discuss their services. As far as times, I can tell you that our dispatchers do keep track of that. It's always, even for us, our call response time will be considered a key indicator for us. We want to know. So it's on their website. I don't know that number, and a lot of times it depends. One of the things we trained on today is the different times of day when their response times will differ. You know, a Friday night or a Saturday night when things are more active, people tend to partake a little bit harder than other days of the week. Then you might see a spike in the amount of calls that they're getting. And then the type of calls that we're talking about is you might see a heavier influence of truancy calls, like when you get into times in the data that we've already got on hand, like 6 to 8 in the morning is usually, you'll see a lot of calls for truancy or parents trying to encourage their kids to go to school. You know, a lot of times the fire may get called out on that. It's a police response. That's a response that we would love to be able to run on and see if we can work together with the child and the schools to see if we can work something out. So another service outside of A3, but it's a good question. And A3 is growing. I mean, some of the numbers that LaShonda and I have listened to, they're growing by 30, 40% in the amount of calls because it is an incredible service and it's a new service. So they're getting more and more calls. But we can look on the site and we can see that, wow, like I believe last month or a couple months ago, the city of Richmond called, don't quote me on the number, I believe it was like 248 calls came from A3 or our dispatchers to A3 or from the community of Richmond. But it's a number we definitely want to keep our eye on, and response time, we want to keep an eye on that and just make sure we're available. Great question.
For A3, they do have a dashboard. It is available for anyone. So if you just put in Google A3 Contra Costa County, and then you'll see on the left A3 dashboard. You can find information and you can sort and get information on various things on their website.
Thank you.
We will move to the next slide.
Actually, I still had a question on this slide.
Same.
And maybe it is on the agenda for some later, but I'm noticing that these categories of calls differ from the, I think, the call types that are in your CAD. And, for monitoring, evaluation, reporting, it would be nice to see them mapped. And so is that a plan to report to us like which categories? Because right now it's kind of confusing and they're also slightly different from I know that there's been a lot of community work in getting Rock started where we mapped all of the different 911 calls, and we were using slightly different categories, and I think we made recommendations to Rock about the types of calls, and these calls are different than those. So just a little bit more about like where these are coming from and how they map to these categories.
If I could, I just want to point out that the next agenda item, we're able to delve into call types. I feel like for this agenda item, if I'm not mistaken, we last time, I think we got through the whole slide deck, if I'm not mistaken, and staff didn't get it, the board members didn't get a chance to ask questions, but we did hear that people wanted to go deeper into call types, which is why we have a separate agenda item on call types. So just so we stay within the agenda items, if people have general questions about any of the Q&As that were asked last time, but are not related to call types, I would ask that you all hold those questions for the next agenda item, if that's works for staff. Thank you.
Thank you. I just had a question on just the capacity for the rock team. I know that the last time that we met, we learned that the team was slightly reduced. I think, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but it went from an 8-person team to 7? 6. Oh, it's a 6-person team. Okay. Okay. Have you guys been able to look into your like the projections for rock in terms of what the capacity would look like? I know that there's a bunch of different call types which are like really incredible. I just also want to make sure that at the same time, the rock program is able to be successful and that responders are able to show up in the community. And so is there any like discussions that have been had on how the smaller anticipated team will impact kind of just the goals, the metrics, success numbers for this program in its first year?
Yes and no. But we do know that the hours of operation is going to look different than what we initially planned. The hours of overlap with teams where we would have 2 teams on at the same time will look different as well. As far as success matrix, I would say that we just dropped what we intended to initially by 25%, and we've hit all our marks. So yes, it would be less calls taken, less individuals served, less days of operation, less hours of operation. But we're gonna make it work.
Thank you so much.
And the plan is still to get those other 4 team members?
Yes, we will plan on hiring the other 2 once these 6 have completed their training, which was why the other 2 wasn't able to make it, because we needed to start before we started losing other folks, and they weren't following the process to be able to start on that date. And so it was a tough decision, but we had to decide to, it's better to start with 6 than keep on pushing it back further and further. And us coming to you saying, oh, we wanted to get them started tomorrow, but hopefully next meeting we'll get them on. So it was a very hard decision to make. This initial 6 will be the only ones I would assume to get the trainings like they're getting right now. Because when we hire the new folks, we will have interventions responding to certain calls. So we'll get them trained, and then they'll sit with a team and really be able to be out there and get the training. This initial one, we wanted to make sure we checked all the boxes to make sure that they had everything that they needed to be successful and safe on these calls.
Thank you so much. And just a quick follow-up on that as well. Is there a timeline on when, like how soon you guys would want to start that new application process, the new hiring process after the training ends?
I think that would also be determined on the staff's ability to do the work effectively without oversight. So depending on how quickly they get to that place to where not only they can be out there without supervision, but also be trusted with being a part of training somebody. So I think that will be dictated on the staffing. But just approximation, I definitely would want them to be out on the streets responding to calls at least 3 to 4 months before they have a responsibility to do that and be responsible for training someone. So
Thank you.
Let's say mid-February they hit the streets. So hopefully by summer. And then the whole process starts again. So that's also a lengthy process, putting in the applications and interviews and then choosing the right 2.
If there's no further discussion around item F2, we can move on to item F3 for the presentation on call types and flows. And there are no public speakers for items F2 or F3.
All right, seeing no other comments, I move to item F3, receive a presentation from CCRP staff on call types and call flows.
Okay. So next slide, please. We're going to go over the call types and call flow. Transparent Richmond. You'll see on the side of our vans, there's a QR code where people can scan that and go right in. Different reports. We have the Reimagine Richmond Community Report is on there. We have the crisis response programs that we're working with. We've got HEART, which is based out of Durham, North Carolina. That's the trip that myself, Sam Vaughn, Joan Benelin-Bing, LaShonda, and Chief French visited. And I believe Yvonne Lima went with us on that trip as well, our dispatch manager. We've also got Oakland Macro in there. They helped with, they've offered to do ride-alongs and any data that they have, any research that they have, and they've offered to have our teams go out. I know that Caitlin and LaShonda have ridden with Macro. I've ridden with Macro, Sam. So it's a really nice local team to work with because they have a similar demographic and they get similar type of calls. They're embedded deeper into the fire department, but it's going to be real nice to work with them. Our team in the end of January, we'll be going out to Oakland to ride with the Macro team, and we're hoping to get them out to Albuquerque as well. And if I can just say on an exciting point, as far as Albuquerque is concerned, Albuquerque started this type of service back in, it was November of 2021, and they started with 8 to 10 individuals. Today, they've got about 100 and just about 150 staff doing this type of work, building this type of program. So it's really exciting to see and watch them grow. I think the last thing we heard, and we meet with them monthly, is that they now launched a street team. So there's so many areas that this community service department, we're hoping to expand to, but they're doing street medicine now, which is another interesting one. And there's some funding for it with both state and federal funds, something we'll look at. But we're excited to get out to Albuquerque. So that'll be cool. Okay, so we started with the initial call types. Is that my mic? So low-level behavioral health calls, and just if I can start with calls, is they all start with building relationships with all of the collaborative responders we'll be working with. And this is on the call types. We have working group meetings that include our dispatch, our fire department, our police department, LaShonda, Sam, myself, Joan, and now Rob, and we go over each of these to a T. It's like, what are you guys comfortable with? What calls are you comfortable with us taking? And it's what we find is that the way the dispatch will receive their calls, it starts as one call. It could be anything you can imagine. I mean, some of the worst calls. And they may say is, part of our relationship with the police department is going to be how the call started versus they get there. It could be a prowling call. Somebody's prowling. It's like, well, no, it was an individual that was responding to internal stimuli that saw something in the window that wasn't necessarily there. But to me, a resident, I see that as prowling. So those calls can start. So what we'll see with the data 6 months to a year in, that we will have responded to every call, and then the call flow would have started as a prowler call. Once PD got on scene, it wasn't a prowler call. PD requested the ROC team to support somebody that was having some challenging symptoms, and now that call becomes a ROC call. And further on that call, that individual or that family, residence, or business that we were responding to, they're now part of a ROC call. So whenever dispatch calls up that residence or that business, it shows, oh, Rock's responded to that call. So where that call may have started as a prowling call, it's become a Rock call. And then the identifying information that we would have received from dispatch could potentially send us back out there. And that will be the same case with some of the more challenging calls where it's another tool in the toolbox for our dispatchers, police departments, and fire departments. So you'll see this call type list grow big time for the type of calls that we actually will respond to. So, yep. This is the call flow. So all of our calls right now will be triaged through our 911 dispatchers, and that was it's a difficult decision, but we had to keep everybody's safety first and foremost. We've coming from Southern California. This was a system and it was new in 2021 when we launched, but having dispatch retrieve all of our calls, it allows us and them to keep all the data that we're all going to need. And it also ensures that before our team gets sent out to a call, that our dispatchers have a very deliberate system to ensure that we're safe. You know, one of the questions is this a safe call for our Rock team? And they have it right in front of them, and I'll give you a cool example. Dispatch, if we get a call to the 450 Civic Center, you're going to see a whole list of the type of calls that were responded to at that address. It's the same with the residents, whether there was a physical violence, whether there was assault, whether there's weapons, whether there's drugs. Our dispatchers have all of that information. So they've already triaged and went through a very deliberate a checklist before they send us out. And if there's no weapons, it's nonviolent, there's no physical violence, or it's a call that would make sense for the Rock team, then they would send us out. But it's certainly a level of comfort for us knowing that they're looking out for us. As Sam says, our dispatchers are considered our mother hens, right? So pretty cool. So that's the way it's called. So they have to go through, they'll determine, is there an immediate threat to one's well-being due to mental health issue or self-harm? Is there a request for involuntary hold? If the answer is yes, they'll contact A3, close call. If they contact dispatch, Rock can be called for the call times we just talked about. And then dispatch call takers consider the below safety and behavioral health and information for each call. Their charge history, their call log history, their mental health needs. And then they deploy the Rock team. Rock would engage individuals in need and deliver resources and/or referrals and relay a contact to dispatch. One of the trainings we did today was, what does the flow of a call look like? Dispatch calls our Rock team. Rock 1, would you put us en route from council chambers? And so it's very specific about how that's going to work. Now, if we went the other way, if the dispatcher decided to deploy RPD, RFD, or EMS, they would contact dispatch and close the call. If necessary, this is where it goes into PD or fire. If necessary, Rock responders must withdraw from the scene and ensure the safety of the community members and themselves. Rock requires, you can see there's all kinds of cool arrows everywhere. Things get kind of, so I'm trying to follow it still, but Rock requires RFD EMS support. Just how that would look is if we got on scene and we were doing an assessment on somebody and they told you while we're assessing them that, hey, I have a history of seizures and I had a seizure 2 hours ago. For us, we'd immediately contact dispatch and have EMS or fire come out to support that individual. And again, someone feels like, hey, I'm going to hurt somebody, homicidal ideation, suicidal ideations, a higher level, or they've got very specific threats where I've got a weapon in the other room and I'm going to pull it out and go shoot the neighbor. It would probably be a call that we can continue to process through, but it would more than likely be a PD call. So it's very rare that happened. I can say back in Southern California, we may be, I don't know, the number's low. It's in the single digits, probably under 5% that once we get on scene that we ultimately have to call out and request police department for support.
All right, so, and Joan would be the one to do great at this, because she is the one that did all the staff reports, did all the contracts, got the scope of work. But we were blessed to get a dashboard built out from a Microsoft contract that worked well with the data software that we contracted with Bonterra called Apricot 360. But because dispatch and fire use a different software, that we're on the fire channel, so we'll use the fire software. So we'll kind of see everything that the fire department sees, nothing that PD sees. And so we had to get a contract with their software as well, and got a bunch of brilliant minds that I can sit on Zoom with for an hour and literally get off realizing that I understood nothing that they were talking about. But they obviously do, because they're speaking the same lingo and like, yeah, I'm like, okay, it makes sense to them. That's all that matters. So they're getting it to where we're integrating these systems so they talk to each other, minimizing the work of having to transport data from one to the other, self-populating in a lot of areas that the staff would normally have to type in. So doing everything we can to minimize the amount of time that it takes to document anything, which means that gives them more time to put themselves out on another call, doing a lot of drop-down boxes, which we will fill in more and more as we go, because if the referrals become consistent, why type it in when you could just drop down box, click it, all the information for who you need to contact at that organization to get the effective and appropriate referral. Just I seen the team going through it. They've already done some logging in of information to get comfortable with it. All of them come from some type of service background, and everybody was saying ooh and ah as they were going through it. So I know we're on the right track. See that? All right. Oh, you can do this one, brother. Partner protocols.
Is this something you all are presenting on? Do you want me to move on to the next slide? Go back.
Can you blow that up? A little bit?
I think this was just an example. I don't have a book.
Oh, that's
On
better.
page 37 of the agenda, if you go earlier.
You should have, sorry, this is small.
And so what I would, because I can't really see it that well either, but I'm looking at it. So what this is this would be the protocols and the processes that Joan has been working on to make it clear what a referral looks like, what an effective referral looks like, what the follow-up looks like, what organizations have capacity for what services, what organizations do great work, but thank you. What organizations do great work, but very well may need some advocacy and support for, as you were talking about back there, like getting them to the finish line, but can't cross because they don't have capacity or they don't have the appropriate resources. So using this opportunity as a city and as government to push resources to organizations who really need it and who are doing good work, and knowing that we can utilize that resource if they had it there. So we'll be referrals for resources. We'll transport to certain resources that are available at the time. We're still looking into, as we were talking about, the care navigators and trying to find ways to transport and follow up after, because the responders literally need to be able to respond. But at times, and as we've gotten to a smaller group, one of those things that we've thought about is, if somebody's calling in sick and, depending on what overtime's looking like, availability, then that person could possibly come in, because you can't have a one-man team, but you can have a one-man follow-up person. And so maybe they use those hours that they can't respond, so we got to call Rock out of dispatch, but we can start following up and start getting folks to those resources. So we're looking at taking advantage of, trying to turn lemons into lemonade, and making sure that the community benefits from us. But the flow is just that. Somebody needs something, got dispatch, Rock comes out, try to find the appropriate service, supportive service, You go down to the right, if it's a co-response, you know, officer can request ROC and then standby, or for through dispatch to be on standby, or for a co-response. Dispatch to give information to ROC, because there's more information once a different first responder gets on scene. They'll have some more follow-up information that they'll always give in the disposition to the dispatch. Dispatch can share that with us, so we got more information as the team gets there. We arrive on scene. We alert dispatch of arrival, so there will be a time of a timestamp on when the team received the dispatch, a timestamp on when the team got on scene, so we have that response time, and then when we leave the scene. So all those things will be timestamped, and so we'll know exactly how much time we spent on this call. As Mike said earlier, it could be 5 minutes, it could be 5 hours, depending on the need. And then we're going to have to gauge that also. Is there another call in the queue that might be a priority? And then how do we leave a scene that we haven't completely solved the problem, but comfortable enough to say, but we'll be back to you tomorrow, or back to you after this call? So we'll come through with what's the process of when you decide that you need to do this or you need to do that. And it can be different. It can be different on any given occasion. And then responders to follow up with the folks that they gave the referral to. And that's another request and release of information with organizations. So if we refer, we'll get the individual to sign a release of information so that organization feels comfortable with giving us the follow-up details on what their response was, what services that they provide, did they refer them to someone else who provides services that they do not, and so forth, so we can have a record of everything that happened from start to finish. And then if it's not a co-response and it's just supportive service, officers can determine whether they need to remain on scene for ROC arrival, or if they just let us know where that person or that situation was, and they go off to another call, and we just come. We respond, acquire information, and then we enter details and follow up with, again, letting them know what their referral was. This is what we did. We referred these folks to these, so everybody understands what everybody else is doing. Or it's just a warm handoff. We arrive, alert dispatch that we arrived, and we respond. We enter call details and follow up with RFD, RPD as needed for data sharing and post-debriefing purposes. There will be no significant personal information shared. It will be general, so they know how, or so what they call the disposition of that call. How did it end? Well, we talked to the person. They agreed to engage with us, volunteered to accept services. We referred them to services.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking about the incident command structure, and I'm wondering if is that anything that ROC will be involved in. In other words, like the first on the scene being in charge until, but I'm thinking in the coordination with other first responders.
Are you referring to like emergency services?
Yeah, I'm thinking, actually I'm thinking like, is it that the police are in charge as soon as they get there, or is there some kind of protocol that's in place?
I would assume. I'm not involved in those meetings. Office of Emergency Services. I'm assuming that they have their protocol and authority structure on
Yeah,
who's
my question is,
responsible
where's
for what.
ROC going to fit into
I
that?
mean, we would fit in where they told us that they would need us.
Okay.
We wouldn't come in. I mean, I think they've been doing it for decades now, so they got the process down. But we would just be added people, being able to transport folks to where they might not be able to. I could see the ROC team responding to mass emergencies.
Yeah.
Mudslides, people are about to lose their home. They're trying to get all their stuff out of there, but we can help them pack it up and get it to the storage. Huge fires that's destroying a block.
But at this point, we're not imagining
No.
rock being within
And
that.
I don't know who's responsible for that. LaShonda would probably know that better, but
Okay.
I know Chief Osorio. I know he will definitely use this resource if and when it's needed.
Yeah, okay.
If I can, I know that whenever we had that tsunami alert, I had taken one of the rock vans up to Point Richmond just in case, because we didn't know if it was for real. It's like, let's go high, just in case there was something where we could be of use for some sort of situation if it truly was a tsunami. Historically, it's like we're part of this community. If there's something going on where we can be helpful, we want to do that without losing sight of our mission and vision. But in any type of crisis, we definitely want to be available. Cold weather crisis, I know we did it down south. But we want to be a part of that. We want to make sure the community members get to serve, the help that they need during very specific type crisis. We've got, working with Gabino Arredondo and Jesus Morales, we've got jackets and outerwear as the weather's starting to get cold, and opens up another type of resource where our officers, firefighters might say, hey, can you stop by and take care of this person? They can use some help. So very deliberate type stuff like that, Alice.
Are there calls, not calls, the flow charts have rock responding, it starts with the operator, 911 operators, but are there calls that you would intervene and that didn't start there? So for instance, let's say someone just flags down your van, and just because something's happening and they know who you are and they're like, flag you guys down, and then you respond to whatever that situation is, or would you respond, or would you call the police, or what would happen in a case where the call did not start, the call to you didn't start with RPD? What
Well,
911?
we have to self-dispatch. We have to let dispatch know where we are. So even if it's a community member that's flagging us down, we would let dispatch know, getting flagged down by a community member at this location at this time, so that dispatch would know exactly where we are. Then it would be up to the responder to find out the information on whether that's an appropriate call for the team. Because, you see a big old van with the city of Richmond waving, and hey, this guy in here stabbing the clerk. Like, we need police.
I was worried about I can understand wanting, of course, we're here to help, but you guys are here to help. But I was wondering about the safety part where they flagged you down because something's going on, like you say, let's say in the store or whatever, and then you guys just respond and you walked into something that's
And
beyond the scope.
that's why we're doing all this training. And that's also in individuals. I don't expect, and I've told staff that there's a lot of things that I've done in my career with this city that I would not expect anybody else to do. And that was me personally as an individual making that decision. Knowledge, just knowing that I'm putting myself in harm's way and accepting those risks. So we're training them deeply to understand risk, situational awareness, being able to see aggression before it becomes aggressive. So we're putting them in front of a lot of different experts in these fields, just so they have that training, so they can feel comfortable and safe. Because safety is a big concern. Everybody's saying, "Well, what about safety? What about safety?" So we're taking that very serious, and but we're also pointing out that every community that has this work in their jurisdiction, the majority of the ones that I've seen, and we are going to keep this data point as well, is after every call, each individual responder has to answer the question, yes or no, did I feel safe? And the folks in these other communities over the years, all of them are 99+% of the calls that all of their responders felt safe. So that's still that 1% though. And we want to make sure that we're if folks are feeling unsafe, they have a process to make sure that they get out of that situation safely. And so we're spending a lot of time on that. So, I'm going to run in there and try to stop dude from stabbing him. That's just who I am. Again, that's not in any of their job descriptions.
I had another question on this. I remember we had a discussion in the past, I can't remember when, or if it's still happening, but I remember once upon a time, you guys had said there would be a hotline number people could call. And the reason why I'm asking about that is I can foresee in the type of work that I'm doing, I'll be on the scene with something and I'll be like, oh, I need to call you guys. I'm not a dispatcher. I don't know the protocols for what the triage would look like. Is that still something in the works that you guys
That
would
would
have?
definitely need more staff. We have all kind of things in our mind on what this can look like and how it
So
can be
no
more
direct
effective.
calls.
As of right now, no.
Okay.
But we are, as of right now, I'm sorry, we are taking direct calls because they're not being dispatched. But it'll be Mike and myself who is actually responding. Prime example, on Friday, got a call. There was a lady over there by the senior center whose wheelchair battery had died. And, you know, simple for us, just pulled the truck over there. We got plugs, sat there with her for about 45 minutes, gave her some hand warmers, some snacks and some water, and waited for her wheelchair to get enough juice to get her home. The bad part about that was she was sitting out there for 18 hours before anybody called us. And it was freezing that night. And she was very embarrassed. She was just embarrassed about her 18-hour journey. But she sat out there for 18 hours. I know for a fact somebody saw her at least twice. And in the process of seeing her twice, how can you not realize something's wrong? So thank God somebody called us, because it could have been 24 or 30. And so we're doing things like that. The team was able to see Mike do an intervention right here in the courtyard at City Hall that same day, correct? So they're getting some hands-on right now. They're going to get in the field with a bunch of different organizations doing this work. They're going to ride along with fire. They're going to sit with dispatchers. We're going to give them everything that we can give them to be successful. And we will do everything we can to foresee safety issues. But I do believe that everybody understands this type of work can be dangerous. But construction is the most dangerous job. You know what I'm saying? We're not, so you give them a hard hat, you give them steel-toe boots, you give them some safety training, and you hope they follow their training. You just hope they follow their training.
So for that call, when you say you self-dispatching,
Yeah.
so you just call in and say, hi, we're responding.
You put yourself out, you do the tab, you put yourself out on dispatch, you let dispatch know where you are, and then you still follow after that. You follow all the entire process of what you would do if dispatch sent you. You put in your disposition, you put in your case notes, you do the exact same thing.
It sounds like from that call that education is a big piece, like people knowing that you're available to do something like that, like charge her battery.
Oh, we definitely got to do orientation. I mean, some
I'm sorry.
outreach, yes.
Huh?
I say we definitely have to do outreach.
Yeah, and I was like, wow, 18 hours is a really long time. And I'm sorry that she sat that long and no one thought about even just calling 911, and they could have dispatched you guys out there, to help her. So that's a sad story, but thanks for sharing that. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and I appreciate the emphasis on like the safety of the responders, and I'm also just thinking about felt sense of safety in the community. And I know a big part of this program was to support people to mitigate contact with police when they didn't have to have it, right? And avoid criminalization and enhance care and access to resources. And I hear what you're saying, and I just want to voice, like, I feel concerned that the only way someone could reach a ROC responder, aside from just flagging down a van, which is more like happenstance, right? You can't necessarily find a van the second you need it, is to call 911, just because I foresee a lot of people may not feel comfortable with that, or may feel like an unknown, right? They may not know exactly what to say to get to ROC. It's like a roll of the dice that the police could come, and if people have had negative experiences or trauma or don't feel safe calling 911, it just seems like it's taking this resource off the table. And then I'm also concerned that if there's some co-response, as we're just launching, the community doesn't know ROC yet, there's not trust yet, and then the police and ROC are coming together, that's gonna tie those two systems together in community members' minds. And yeah, I guess I'm just feeling like feels really important to have a way to reach Rock that's not through 911. And I'm wondering about the co-responsive. It's like, yeah, what would necessitate people, like the police and Rock being there together versus like the police calling, leaving, Rock being there, so it's more of a separate, yeah.
I don't see any time that dispatch would send Rock with RPD. When we say co-response, it means it was two separate responses on the same event. So fire could get there and say, they need Rock, give us a call, we come. PD would have that same opportunity to say, hey, this ain't a call for PD, so they'll let dispatch, you should have sent Rock, and then we'll come.
Thank you for clarifying.
But
so it's, yeah.
Depending on their feeling of security. And that's why we have to have the relationship with them. Like, hey, okay, your officer doesn't feel comfortable enough for whatever reason because he was agitated, but he didn't break no law. He can't really do nothing. We're here. Now you're concerned for us. Okay, I appreciate the concern. Can you do it over there, around the corner, hit you if we need you. And so this is conversations that we're having with them as well.
Okay.
Board Member Decker, that it's having that a call line is a direction that we're going in. But what I can tell you is that it's systematic desensitization, and everything that you're thinking about are things that we cycle through. How do we truly integrate into the community? How do we, get the community to know that, and Board Member Barton mentioned some of the flag downs. We're going to get a lot of folks in the community that are flagging us down. This is really exciting work and exciting stuff. But so having dispatch looking out for what we're doing, it's definitely the way to do it right now to keep us safe. And then we're going to be out constant. I mean, figure February 1st, we're going to have a van of 2 out in the community, and we literally can't go down the street without people flagging us down. What is the Rock team? Some of the trainings we're doing right now is even Caitlin was over in our office today, and we asked the responders, what is the Rock team? These folks are new that they're on day 11. Like, what is the Rock team? This new service since the first, since 2021. It's like, so it's really fun to watch them grow as responders from what we do. And then really, I know Sam he reinforces the mission and vision of this department and this work. And it's really hard to do because we have a directive, and our goal is to support our community with offering them another, entity to call. And I think you will see a lot of PD support calls. Is it me just being too close to this thing? Sorry, I lost myself. You want to go? No. You'll see a lot of, like one of the KPIs that we look at is how many calls did we get from law enforcement today, from our law enforcement partners. And we're going to see, we got 3 today. This is something we covered today in class, as a matter of fact, in our training. And this is when we know this process is working. We had 3 calls from our officers saying, hey, is the Rock team available? I got to tell some funny stories. We got a long meeting anyways, but I won't get too long. Yeah, we do. Sorry. Quick one.
Too long, Michael.
Sorry. No, but as we're starting to integrate and working, we had, anybody walks by our office now, we drag them in and introduce them and take pictures, and this is a Rock team, and we're training. Who is a Rock team? Tell us about yourself. What are you doing? So we had an officer that was doing, they now have her doing a patrol check of Civic Center every morning just to help out folks that are sleeping on the benches and whatnot, and they're there every morning. And that was a call where we'd be working together. So every morning you see the same individual sleeping out there. So this officer, she'd been there for a year. It's just very kind, very cool. And she's like most everybody in the community, sees this orange van. Well, what is it? I'm hearing this rock this and rock that. And then I start singing, of course. But she asked, what is it? So we had her come into the training and explain, who we are and what we do. And she had very specific areas of the city that she's working over on McDonald and 3rd over by the Bay Area Rescue Mission. She's like, what do I do? I mean, there's some really great people out here on the street that could certainly use some help. It's not law enforcement. You know what I mean? Is that something you guys would help out with? Because she's seeing the same cold, hungry faces that we're going to be seeing while we're in the community. So it's like, yes, please, this is where we can all work together on this. So, and then it's truly systematic desensitization. They're going to start seeing us with the officers high-fiving, but ultimately we get that call and that community member will realize over time, man, we're just part of a new, a new team, a new collaboration, and we're doing everything we can to get, eliminate, law enforcement and fire when it's not necessary. I mean, if you look at what we're doing as a whole, for years, decades, we've always called 911 for everything. Now it's like all those calls in the data, especially from Reimagine, just broke it down like how many calls really needed to go, how many can we respond on. We've got a whole bunch of emails lined up to say we need a big crew to handle all the calls that we're going to be getting. And just the flag downs, there's so much fun when somebody, what is this? And you get to tell them what it is. So, yeah, so we're working on that though.
Can I ask another? So I'm just kind of curious because I'm here so I know about, and I'm always telling people and people are always asking, and I don't have all the information clearly, but being in the community, I know there's a lot of different community orgs that, so I'm just wondering, like, are we gonna, like I said, I know, so for me in my little area, I have that information. Is this going to become not something where we see each other in passing and hey, but is this going to become like a blast of information for example, like in the work we call 211. Is this going to connect in that direction versus not only 911 but 211? Because I can see how it doesn't always have to be a 911. Do you know what I mean? So what I'm trying to figure out is how can I reach you guys could I say, hey, so-and-so, just call 211, ask for Rock. This seems like a perfect, do you get where I'm going? I'm trying to help me out here.
100%. This is the gap in service that is frustrating for all of us. Even us in here, like, hey, we've got an individual, a community member that meets the criteria to go to Grip for the day or Barn for the day or Bay or Brookside, and it's call 211, get a hold of 211, ask for Alice. Alice will connect you with LaShonda to let Caitlin know that Sam might stop by later today. I mean, this is the system that we're working in that is really, really frustrating. So for us, we just have one right now. We have just dispatch and dispatch. So part of this, Board Member Sullivan, is going to be the true training we've been doing with our dispatchers. The dispatchers are already knowing they're hiring accordingly, and we're going to be educating. I believe we'll be over there tomorrow or sometime this week to do what sit-ins, and it's literally educating. They haven't had this service either. They're excited about not having 10, 12 calls holding, during different times of the year, of the day. But they'll be able to say their first response is, hello, I'm calling, I need the Rock team out here. And they will have the same questions that they'd ask if somebody had been shot, if somebody was down, if it was medical, or whatever the case. So they'll have, so that to keep us safe, they have to ask, are there any weapons on site? Is anybody being physically harmed? Everything else. So once they go through that, so part of this training, and we'll look at that in some of the data that we're going to capture, is how quick is it? It just says, oh, it's me again. It's LaShonda and Sam are boxing over here on, whatever the case may be. But the part of that truly is the training. And one of the things that our dispatchers say is that we love that we're going to get to train together. And that's truly what it's going to be.
Thank you.
Hopefully in the future, and until we get a different directive from the city council vis-a-vis the city manager, the directive was to respond to 911 calls. And so to be able to do community outreach, community educational sessions, to let them know that this is out there. So if they are someone who, I don't want to call 911 because I know all I'm going to get is police, to get them to a place to where, or maybe not though. you know? And so if it's a crime, the appropriate response is police. If it's not a crime, the appropriate response could be the rock. And that's, you know, take that and filter it as each individual will. Because what we can't do is just say, hey, call dispatch and say this, 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 and this. Because you do all that and then we get there and none of that's true. And we just rode up to a crime and you just wanted some support, but you didn't want police to come. Mm-hmm. And now police got to come anyway, because we got to go out and be like, this isn't a call for us. So they're going to end up sending police. Mm-hmm. And so we got to be careful about that. In the future, hopefully, yes, a phone number to call. And maybe that's just it. The person in the conversation that you get on the phone helped you get through whatever it was. Or you may need some assistance. And then we have a team that comes, those care navigators, that comes and supports. So I'm pretty sure in Albuquerque, with 148 people, there's all kind of ways to get a hold of them and get support. But you can do that when you got 148 people. We're going to be responding to 911 calls, and we're going to be leaving folks in the queue because we didn't have enough time to get to all of the folks that we had an opportunity to serve that day because it took 5 hours, you know, and we took that as the priority with the 3 calls that's in the queue and, you know, follow up on the phone, see if it's still an issue tomorrow, try to fit them in between calls. Maybe that's one of those ones you self-dispatch on because they may have called back the next day. On the non-emergency line, just follow up, hey, anybody going to be able to come today? You know, we're going to do whatever we can to support as many people as we can, but we also want to make sure that we're functioning in a way to where we're responsive, but we're also responsible to the directive.
And if I can, every month I get billed $2.95 because I bought the 510 something 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 rock number because I realize how important it's going to be to our community. It's $3. It's a number barn, but we got it anyways. Thank you. I see the value. It's important that we have that, and as you can see, the branding campaign we're doing, 510 blah 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 rock. We want to start. That's ultimately the direction we hope to go in. So, I'd like to get 444 rock or 22 something cool.
Can I ask how it's looking to connect with CORE, which I know is our like housing outreach, referral, and engagement team? Something in my own work is trying to like eliminate the barriers and the paperwork, and so like if somebody's connecting with Rock, they might have an intake with Rock, and then are you either transferring them or dropping them off at GRIP, and then they're doing another HMIS intake, or will you all have HMIS? I'm thinking not, but I'm just asking.
I don't think so. I think we spoke about that, and it was a no. But if especially with organizations that we see a large amount of referrals to, we can get that agreement, share of information, so it's easier to just boom, here you go, and everything we got on them that's appropriate to send on to the next organization can just be given that way. We got to see if our interfaces integrate, all these words that I have no idea. But if the systems integrate, if not, they might, and depending on where the resources are coming from, they might have their specific intake because this is the way the grantor wanted the information to be, given over in the report, and it's just simpler for us, so they got to do it again. I know Mike has gone out there and had a number of meetings with all of these different organizations, CORE, A3, SOS, trying to figure out what that referral process.
SOS is not in the HMIS.
And so, and then met with Jenny Robbins, who has a new position. So she's over A3 and CORE and Brookside Shelter. And so we're trying to figure out the best way, not to say that anybody that we're dealing with is more important than any other person that's getting the service, but we do want to make sure that we have some kind of red carpet treatment. And what does that look like? What do you need from us to be able to provide that for us? Because again, it's horrible to get somebody finally say, yep, I'm ready for help, but we ain't got none for them for 4 days. And then, oh, we finally got that bed. Now they back, and you lost that opportunity. And so we're trying to make sure that we're getting just real connection. So when we say we have a service for you. We have an opportunity for you. It actually exists.
I was gonna ask about the rock training, but I see that's the next item.
Yeah, that's
So, okay, I'll wait.
Just had one last question on the separate rock phone number, and maybe it's a good segue to what we're seeing right here in this slide. But what is it going to take for us to get to that point? I know that we mentioned, of course, more funding, more staffing. Do we have an idea of generally how much would be needed? How large of a staff we would need before we'd feel comfortable taking on something like this? Are there any extra details outside of just like any additional details you guys can share on that?
I mean, not really. I'm pretty sure that we can get staffing information from other jurisdictions. This is about how many people it takes to be able to do this, and for time off, sick days, all of these types of things. Again, until the directive has been changed, I believe that they would want this to be 24/7 before they try to add anything else on. But that could change. Does it make sense to be 24/7? We're gonna find all these things out. It might not make sense 4 hours out that day to have rock on because there ain't no calls. So
Is there any conversation on the idea that, A3 is like the dispatcher and then they're, like, I think that was mentioned early on that that might sometimes be happening or could happen, but could that potentially be the route forward? The alternative phone number is A3's number, then they're the dispatch for, I'm just curious if that has been a conversation at all.
as A3, as our dispatcher,
Not as our dispatcher, but, A3 is an alternative to police. So I call that number when I need support. And it, ideally, could be easier route, if we're partnered with A3, they're, connecting the calls that are your location, Richmond, or maybe you're continuing folks that you're continuing to see, that could be an alternative. I don't know if that's ever been thought through or considered.
I don't think we've had that conversation. And again, to be clear, when we won't be going to clear cut mental health calls. That would be A3. Now, if A3 is saying that it's going to be a 3 or 4 hour wait, and we can get dispatched to that call to help de-escalate, sit with, try to get their mind off the voices, and have a conversation with us until the appropriate professional comes, that is an option. A3 could get called out somewhere and realize this isn't a mental health issue. We're not going to put a hold on this person. And possibly just personalities might even agitated the person more, but they acknowledge that some services are needed. So they might call dispatch and say, hey, if Rock's available, I think this is a great candidate for them. But as far as A3 dispatching to us, no, we've never had that conversation.
Chair Dixon, what I can tell you is the conversations we've had with our dispatchers is it is so intense work. It's the hardest work I've ever seen. Like there's few people that can do it. I know we've all visited there, and then don't quote me on the number. It's either 40 or 60% of that go through the academy to be a dispatcher. I think they only keep like 40% of them. So we're thinking, what happens to those other 60% that can't do the full on? It's like, so people that didn't quite make it, they got like a C+ on work that's like really high intense. We're like, what about if we were to utilize somebody that's gained all of these skills through dispatch, and then we can tie them into some very specific and deliberate training for the type of calls we'll be doing? It's like, what a great loss. So now we've got folks that have already been trained and working with our dispatchers. What a great opportunity to explore that, to bring somebody in as one of our call takers. So we've talked about that.
All right.
So
Go to trainings.
Well, so just to, can I summarize what I understand about the call types from your presentation? So it's difficult to come up with a definitive tight list because calls evolve. A call that starts off as loitering could become a mental health call, could become something else. And so that's why this list seems a little vague, not to be insulting about it. And then, but the system, the all of those beautiful like interfaces that you were talking about, Sam, those will, the calls will end up being mapped to the CAD categories as a result of just your record keeping.
Correct.
Kind of automatically, even if on the front end they're not. Okay. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure.
No, that's a really, really good question. I mean, we've spent one of the first questions, literally, everybody asks, well, what are the call types? What type of calls are you guys going to get sent out on? So and we even internally with our working group we spent a lot of time defining those calls. But you look at like a wellness check, it's pretty general and vague. So they're great questions. Same thing with mediation. You got, everything from schools to houses to families to businesses to, there's a lot of mediation.
Well, it also depends, to the point about like, how do we talk to the community about this? If we're not sure what kinds of calls you're getting, it makes it hard for us to do that outreach for you. So that's one of the reasons. I mean, I'm interested in the data, but I'm also interested in just like having a clear message to the community about what this program does. And so,
Yeah.
I don't know what else to
Second
say.
that, yeah. No, yeah, I absolutely want to second that. I think, if there's any way that staff can let us know, like even though I understand that the call types are changing, I know you guys are always in conversations with folks with dispatch about what exactly these call types will look like. But if there's any way that we could get a list of the current agreed upon call types, I know there's hundreds, right?
One way to do that might be like the bare minimum, like so we know that these calls are always on, gonna go to rock.
And we can't say always.
Well, most of the time.
Yeah.
Right? And so like other calls might come in, but we know that, if we can determine that it's a loitering call and it's not dangerous, it's going to go to rock, right? So, I mean, then we know, we could tell people if it's a loitering call and it's not dangerous, it'll go to rock. Yeah, maybe there might be some that are vague, but some that are really, are within your wheelhouse.
And on the screen, I definitely hear what you're saying. But if someone were to ask me, I would say that the types of calls that likely will be dispatched to ROC could include, like, enlist some of the followings, and just let people know that because calls can evolve, because dispatch has an ear to hear things that everyone doesn't hear. And I've sat there where, it may sound like it's a disturbance call, but maybe dispatch knows that house often, there's other issues that happen at that house and they need to not send a rock. But that dispatch will be able to assess the call type and make a determination. And so if people have questions, if they want to call, the best thing they're going to do, if it's really an issue or an emergency that's happening, something that's going on, they need to call 911 right now. We don't have another option. Here is the best we can give people for the types of calls right now that staff have worked with PD and fire and dispatch on. That is at least a starting point to let people know. But the way that they're going to get ROC is through dispatch. But if people have, general questions, or you always can contact staff.
So that kind of leads me to one really quick thing I'm thinking too. So boots on the ground February, March, April, May, we're going to kind of hear for us, we're going to start to see what
Data.
you guys are doing successfully, what are the issues. So we're going to actually be able to see it unfold.
Yes.
And I'm excited about that because I know you got to walk before you run. So we want to see you be successful. I'm saying I'm pretty sure based on the following months, we're going to get to see information unfold. We just probably got a lot of questions, but I think patience and confidence and powerful manifestation for this program. We all want to see be successful in the community, but I'm looking forward to the following months after you guys do have boots on the ground, because then we will be able to put this into action in the community based on your successes. And I don't want to say the word failure, but you know what I'm saying? Just things we learn along the way. So I'm looking forward to March, April, May, getting that data little by little, watching it build. And then that's how we're going to see what you guys are, what's getting filtered down. So, because then I'll know how to say, hey, we can call Rock, you know, so I'm excited. I'm excited for it.
And then we'll be able to advocate, right? Like, because I'm hearing maybe this is something we need to kind of advocate for. I don't know, about like the necessity of another number or like more funding to make that happen, or, yeah.
I
People
think we
can
got to
always,
get
oh.
folks on the team out into the community. So not only they can show themselves what they're absolutely capable of, but the community starts to get to know them. But we have to prove our value. We have to show why the city initially invested, so that they can see that if more investment is needed, it's good investment.
And if I could just add, I feel like, you know, on the slide that's up in terms of our considerations, staff has thought about this. We've talked about this before this board existed. Like, we've talked about how do people find Rock? How does Rock get dispatched? We've looked at what other jurisdictions are doing. So this is something we have thought about or continuing to think about. And so we're not saying don't advocate, but what we are saying is give us time to start. Like, let us, as Chair Sullivan, Board Member Sullivan mentioned, we need to get the boots on the ground, actually start to do the work, get some data that we can analyze and look at, have stories to share before we're ready to take this next step. Because even if everyone went and said more money, more staff, phone number, we're not ready. We don't think this is the time at this very moment, right? They're in the midst of training. They're not ready to activate that yet as staff. So we're just asking for some time. We hear you, we understand. Like I said, we've been thinking about it. We're considering it. We're trying to figure out what this looks like. But just some time to let the project roll out, let the program roll out. Thank you.
I'm not sure where I heard this. I'm sure it was from somebody in here. It was, the 5-second answer is nonviolent, non-medical cause, right?
Yeah.
And then you evolves from any further discussion that you might have with that person who you're trying to tell, who's saying, well, what the heck is Rock, right? To me, and not to you guys. You can do a much better explanation, but if somebody is just saying, what, you're doing what? What are they going to respond to? That's the first quick answer to me is non-medical, non-violent cause. Yeah, thanks.
And you're absolutely right. I mean, and non-medical, non-violent, low acuity, suicide, some of the ones that were mentioned, there's mediation, but if you stick with that, then that's exactly what dispatch is going to ask. That's the short version, but it will scale quickly.
All right, and this goes right into that conversation about a phone line or a call taker. That is something that a lot of other jurisdictions are doing, and it's I think it's a proven fact that it's needed as this organization grows, or if this work grows in this community, then that would definitely be one of the next steps. And so to get to the trainings, I'll let Mike do the, well. we
1
got
second.
18 minutes.
One moment
Oh.
before we move on. There are no public comments for this item, so we can move on to item F4, receive a presentation from CCRP staff on rock trainings.
You want to do it, or me?
Next, on trainings, did you get my email I sent you of my cool Canva I made? Anybody? No, I shared it.
I saw that you sent an email with a link, but I was in meetings all day, so I did not open it.
Okay.
But next time we will show. I'm sure it was beautiful, Mike.
Thank you.
I know. I believe that it was.
I'm so jazzed. I learned how to use Canva. I'm an OG. Oh. So I'm sharing it like, did you get it, Sam? Did you get it, LaShonda? Did some KCRT? Did you get the Canvas slide deck? But I'll just kind of go over what the trainings.
Wait, sorry.
You got it?
Is this it? Or no? This is not it?
No, keep going a little bit further. And a little bit further.
Oh.
No, we keep going a little bit more.
That was it.
That's it?
That was it.
Oh.
Sorry.
But there's a separate, sorry.
No,
yeah.
that one's pretty cool too, though. The other one has like live pictures of. All right, cool. Cool. All right.
Oh, 13 minutes. 10 minutes, Mike. 15 minutes.
Yeah, no, this one's going to be me if we're doing the 10 minutes. But so they definitely, staff definitely gave trainings a lot of thought. We went to all these different jurisdictions that we're referring to, Durham and Albuquerque. They've been very good at sharing everything that they've had and learned in the 4 or 5 years that they've been doing this work. So much appreciation to them. We broke down the trainings into 4 different sections. You have program operations, foundations of crisis response, field trainings, and on-the-job training. The first phase instantly went into the history of city and the programming, learning about the different departments that they might be partnering with, because a lot of services, Richmond is a full-service city, and so a lot of services we can get within city departments. Others we got to go out. The history of CCRP, also the history of crisis response in this country. Operational and admin systems, responder duties. It was hilarious. I walked in there the other day and I heard them mocking dispatch and, the calls and radio etiquette and role playing, and they were just having a great time, but it was also very educational in the same process. And so that's another good vibe. I was really concerned about 8 to 10 weeks worth of training and boring the so we're trying to make sure that there's movement and outdoors and then some computer and then go back. So we've been very mindful of that. And then working with the different community partners, making sure that they all understand these are all the partners. They're going to site visits with all of these partners so that they can get a firsthand relationship and be able to build that with them, because they're going to be the ones. And knowing exactly who to go to get something done when you go to that organization. Because you got a lot of good organizations that do great work that have some people that do absolutely nothing. And if you bump into that person, now we looking bad because we didn't send you somewhere. So it's always like you get there, but make sure you talk to this person. And we're going to refer you to this person. And then the foundations of crisis response, responder skills, de-escalation, trauma-informed healing centered care. We just did a cultural intelligence training. Was that Friday? Yeah, Friday. Non-harmful self-defense training, harm reduction training, defensive driving. They also did that. I heard that was absolutely hilarious when they had to go through the obstacle course in these big old trucks. Some were very comfortable, some not so much. But that's part of this job. So we gotta find a way to get you comfortable in these trucks or these vans. Mental health first aid, impact of secondary trauma, empathetic communication, and on-scene interventions and tactics. Again, the scenarios. We got some folks with some really good character on staff. They're really getting along and vibing with each other. You can see them melting together. It's very nice. They've already decided on their own, the partners, the days. We thought we were going to have to pull straws because nobody has any seniority because they all started at the same time. So we were like, we got a domino tournament. Like, how are we going to figure this out? But they came up with it on their own. And so that's good teamwork. They're communicating with each other. They also came up with it. And then like every 6 months, we could just shift. So great camaraderie in 11 days. Totally appreciate them.
As far as funding, I also bought the dice so we could help from the Dollar Tree. So I got the phone number for $2.95. The dice, that was another. All right, go ahead.
It sounds like he's trying to put in for a reimbursement.
But it was fun. I mean, the people they're coming to this training like, what are these big goofy orange dice from the Dollar Tree? And like, why is there a deck of cards out here? It's like, you'll see.
And so then also phase 3, it'll be field training. So out there with other people who are first responders, getting again to build relationships. Also making sure that everybody understands, like, what does that handoff from fire or PD look like? What happens if we're on a scene and then PD comes, right? Like, who has authority? What does that look like? If it happened in a way that somebody feels like it shouldn't happen, what's the proper process to, I ain't gonna say make that complaint, but I would say to fix that problem. All right, this shouldn't have happened. We were here, you came. I don't know why, but we're gonna move out of the way as you come, because now you have the authority on this scene. But now later on, let's have a conversation about, and why did that happen? What was the purpose? Was it necessary? How can we make sure that that doesn't happen again if it's not necessary? So those are going to be ongoing conversations. They have what's the name, LaShonda, what's the name of that they call calibration meetings, right? And I love that term. You know, it's not like it's broke, but, you know, something's out of whack. We hear the ticking in the motor. Like, let's do something before it actually causes some long-term harm. And so these field trainings will be with police and fire, other crisis response neighbors, and then we'll definitely get, like I say, the partner protocol, so everybody understands what they're supposed to do at any given time. And then, you know, after 8 weeks, it'll be on the job training. So we'll go out with staff. Again, as Michael said, really gonna work with City Hall to get these responders for at least a 3 or 4 day training with Albuquerque, so they can really be in the mix, because they are getting calls constantly. They got calls in the queue. They can see how they are prioritizing these calls, what it takes. We're going to one call, but now this one, like, okay, put that one on hold, just to really see them with it in motion. And then actually going on calls in Richmond, working with dispatch. I can see Mike in the car with somebody, and then I can, or vice versa, and I can see myself in dispatch. Like, you know, what's the calls we getting? Why didn't we get that call? When I sat in dispatch, and he tells the story much better than I do. I didn't want to leave because I was invested in a welfare check. And it was like, all right, what happened? We ain't gonna get no feedback. I want to see if this man is okay. You know, I want to know the outcome of that. But as I was there, I was like, oh, this is definitely a call, right? As I'm hearing, oh, rock, this a rock call right here. This a rock call right there. I'm looking up at the folks in the queue, and they tell you how long, you know, because they again timestamp when somebody calls. This is when the dispatch received the call. Here it is 4.5 hours later, and nobody's. I would assume whatever that call was is a rock call. Whatever that was, if it wasn't, you know, important enough to send PD within 4.5 hours, I'm assuming rock is okay to go. You're not worried about safety. Like, it's not a safety issue. Obviously, it's not a major crime. Hey, we can get that off your board. And so just sitting with dispatch and being able to help with them, walk them through, like, I'm comfortable with the team going on that. I'm comfortable with the team going on that. And then allowing them to see those dispositions so that they can start being comfortable making that call on their own. And if any questions on training, because there's a lot of trainings. Some we're doing in-house, some we're getting other departments to help support, some we're contracting out. Yeah, but it's a.
Well, actually, to that point, because there's so much, this is a great overview, but it would be nice to have like a physical report on what this training is, like just to see what the full curriculum is. Out of just
Yeah, no,
curiosity,
you can.
but
Yeah.
also for advocating for, if we're looking at funding opportunities, it's something to know. So just like how many days for each training, how many hours, who's doing it, would be.
We have that.
Yeah, I know, I wouldn't ask, but I didn't know you
Yeah,
had
we
it.
definitely have
We
that.
miss Joan when she's gone, trust me.
The other thing, I mean, I know that, you know, and you know, that this initiative comes out of a movement to end mass incarceration. And I'm wondering where that is in the training. Is it part of that initial history? But I feel like a history of like where this came, that sort of grounding in the norms and the values, which is not just about helping community, but also about, like, as you know, keeping people out of this system, like where that is in the training.
I have that in a Canva deck that I sent to LaShonda. I really do.
I'm sure the report's going to be beautiful because if you got your hands on it with the Canva.
But some of the pictures don't match up somehow. I don't know, but absolutely do. So, and I can tell you that there's probably close to 100 different trainings that this team will have. Everything from trauma-informed care to working with adolescents with disabilities, all the different spectrum disorders, approaches, crisis response. Just it's going to be an impressive training process. But it'll be neat for you all to have the list of each of those, which is on that Canva deck.
And we can, and we had, right, from week 1, week 2, week 3, what the training is, how long is it? There's a lot of online trainings. So we kind of, all right, get an hour of that in here and then back to talking and engaging one another. Some trainings are 4 hours, some trainings are 30 minutes in the online stuff. Other trainings that we're contracting with are 3 full days, 4 half days. And not specific to mass incarceration, but the cultural intelligence training definitely hit those points of decriminalizing our community. And some folks, I mean, like I say, we got a bunch of different personalities in there, and state-sanctioned oppression and all those types of things. We're coming out in the conversation, so we're definitely hitting that mark.
I can say it was a theme. When we were creating the agenda, a lot of the questions that were submitted were around training and really wanting to know those in-depth details. I can personally say I really want the who, because I want to borrow some trainings. I want to potentially look at them to contract for my own trainings. So it's really interesting to see who you all are using, like what trainings are matching up around with other organizations, what common knowledge we all have. And I know that there were some questions about harm reduction and specifically what was happening there. I can also say that in regards to housing and federal funding, there's going to be some massive changes, and that's all going to then impact in this work. So it's super helpful if we could get those exact trainings in the future. And yes, that Canva PowerPoint.
So I pulled it up. I was able to pull it up. This just really quickly, because I know we're at time. This shows you all of the different trainings. Is that correct, Mike? So we have like 5 slides with lists of trainings that staff will go through. I'm not gonna let Mike talk. So then this is one slide. Keep going. Keep going.
But I think to Sam's point, the knowing what this is, is this a 3-hour online, a 2-week intensive in person?
That would be in the Canva.
That's the level of detail.
That's in the Canva, right?
Well, if you keep it, some of it's there. But some of these are shorter trainings, and then we'll reinforce it with, for instance, harm reduction. So we'll have our, the BART team, our outpatient opioid, team come in and reinforce that. This is our new command center. Not command center. We're trying to name it. If you guys can think of a cool place, it is our headquarters. We've got, I like the care hub, but you can see
Call
this.
it war room.
Come on, please send those in. Just if we can get a survey going on it's got to be a cool name. We're rock, But this is this is the area. This is our MSW intern Rob Libfeld, who you guys met last time. He's doing the training on. The documentation, the apricot documentation, and the Mark 43 integration that Sam was talking about earlier, and everything from public facing to all you guys are going to be blown away at how much we're tracking. It's like, why do you need to know that? We need to know all of it. So it's going to be cool. There, hold on. That's Sam. When he wouldn't leave, we had a 7. We're in dispatch from 7 till 9. We're going on 9:20, 9:30. Sam. That's good.
9:50, 7:58.
All right, all right.
We can definitely, because before our staff came on board, we really had to break down the trainings and just full day here, full day there. I don't know if at any given day we've completed it because topics, you talk a little bit. The training goes a little longer when it's interactive, but the breakdown is there. So this train is 15 minutes. This train is 4 hours. This training is all day, half a day with fire, half a day here. So we can get you all that.
And I know, but I'm happy to hear that also, like, vicarious trauma training. Like, I'm curious about the piece of supporting the crisis responders, like, own mental health ongoing too.
We have contracts with therapists that all
Okay.
staff have access to.
Great.
I think it's super important.
Well, a lot of good things come from ONS being on the streets for 15 years before CCRP. We had to learn that the hard way.
That's the team. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're missing one person. And then the intern, and then Chief Rincon.
Oh, right.
And then this is the defensive driving, right? The driver's training. I think that's the last one.
Let me move back.
And with 13 seconds to spare.
Thank you for all your amazing hard work. For next month, think about what you need from us, because we're going to be asking.
Thank you all very much. You can count on that. We're really starting to bring it in and figure out where the needs are, where the gaps in services that we're going to come across. A lot of it's coming from the team and the different CDOs that we're working with out in the community. So, yeah.
He's going to ask for that $295 a month back.
Advanced Canva training.
Does there need to be a vote to adjourn or no?
You don't need a vote
Okay.
No, you just call the time.
All right, well then, at this time, at 8 p.m., I call this meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.
Oh, and there were no public comments for any of the additional items.